Nicole, welcome first of all to the show, and gosh, it's an honor just to sit and chat with you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Uh,
I'm really
I,
happy to
I
be
I read a
here.
little bit about you. You're a California native.
I'm actually not. It's so funny. I feel like I have a castmate, Rachel Scarston, who makes fun of me because she's like, out of all the people I know, there's the most misinformation about you on the internet. I am actually from Virginia,
Wow.
and I lived in New York for over 8 years.
Hmm.
I went to school there as well. And then I actually, oh my gosh, 2 months ago, a month ago, I don't know what time it is anymore, but I just moved to California. So I'm a new California resident.
Wow. See, so I'm going to just throw out everything I ever read about you and just get to know you. Um,
Please do.
you are a singer. You are
Am.
a dancer. You grew up doing ballet and all of that. That's correct, right?
Yes, yes. And I was a figure skater. I did all of those things. I think I was totally all in for anything sort of performative and expressive and artistic. I was like in deep, sort of as long as I can remember.
It seems also a little bit of athleticism as well, because figure skating is a very hard sport.
Oh, yeah, it's incredibly difficult, and I have the utmost respect. But sort of one of my first heroes growing up, I remember seeing Michelle Kwan
Yeah.
on screen, like, competing at the Olympics, and she was so, all I remember is she just combined grace and power so effortlessly, and so I just thought she was so cool
Mm.
that I was like, I told my dad, I looked up at him and I was like, I have to do that. So I think that was one of the first times that I felt represented and inspired, and she was feminine but she was strong, and I really related to that. And so figure skating became one of my first ever loves.
And your other love, acting and performing. Uh,
Yeah.
were you a little kid when you got the acting bug, when it bit you?
It's so funny. I get asked that a lot. I definitely was in the plays and musicals in high school. I was involved in everything. I like loved student council. I loved any extracurricular activity. I am an only child, so I don't have any brothers or sisters. So I often was staying at school late and going to school early, just in involving myself in anything I could. So high school was really when the bug bit. But it I sort of think that my whole life being an only child, as they know, your imagination is developed at a really, really early age. So I remember, if imagination is a muscle, I remember sort of taking it to the gym as far back as I can remember. And it's what's really benefited me and taken me as far as I am. And that in combination with, I ended up being really blessed to go to Tisch School of the Arts. And then I am also a member at the so a little technique came into play eventually. But yeah, I think imagination maybe before I knew it was acting.
And getting that first role, getting that first paid
Yeah.
role, what was that like for you?
It was incredibly significant. I remember looking at that check and being stunned and overwhelmed and sort of filled with emotion because I was frustrated. I was auditioning a lot, over 10,000 auditions for probably, years. And my journey is shorter than most. So I really, really commend the working actor, because not only is it a huge, feat of
Mhm.
sort of a numbers game, but it is a mental game too, as much as any other athlete. So I remember getting the call, and I remember my manager sort of telling me, you don't need 100 people to say yes. You need one person to say yes. And there was a show, You, on Netflix, which later became, the cultural phenomenon that it became. But at first, when it aired on Lifetime, I thought, oh my gosh, they said yes. And that meant so much to me, to be included in a community that I really aspired to be a part of. So yeah, absolutely, of course. It was huge.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the movie The Social Ones.
Ooh,
Obviously, a hilarious comedy, and you've got such a great cast.
yeah.
Deborah Jo Rupp is in it. My friend Richard
Oh
Kind
yeah.
is in it,
I love
and you're in it.
Richard. Yes. Yeah, me and Richard actually go back because we share a mutual friend, Lyle Kessler,
Oh,
who, of course, is the incredible Broadway playwright of Orphans. I am his dear friend, and him and Margaret are really, really a meaningful part of my New York family. So Richard and I have actually acted before in a series of Lyle's monologues. So to be able
really?
to show up in a movie with alongside Richard was an absolute honor. Deborah Jo Rupp, I mean, the list goes on. Everyone is iconic.
Yeah, it's a very interesting comment on people who live their lives, in front of their iPhones and smart cameras, trying to, I don't know, trying to get people's attention. But you play a character
Yeah.
that's, I don't know how to describe her. I mean, she's crazy. Let's just say she's crazy.
Yeah, she has her own brand of that for sure. But yeah, I think, she's someone who was in the social media game for as long as it's been, like as long as she's been around, and she got success really early on. So her worth, and you see her, in her hilarious therapy sessions with the brilliant Stephanie March, working that out because she has no separation between personal, professional, and her own identity, and it all gets tied up in sort of, you know her lack of growing followers. So I think it, is an amazing study of what can happen to a social media influencer.
Was it fun to film this movie? It seemed like it would be a hoot. We like to say hoot
Yeah,
where I live.
oh my gosh. Yeah, well, it was a hoot. I couldn't stop laughing. I don't know. Actually, I've never been on a set where we ruined more takes in my life. At one point, like in a lot of the group scenes, we're sort of done filming, and at that point, a lot of improv was going on. We have some brilliant improvers, and I was sort of among the best. And I remember like turning up stage away from the camera, which is ridiculous because I've never turned up stage before in a movie, just because I was shaking. So I was like, maybe if I turn my back, it will appear as though I'm crying. But I was shaking with laughter. Amanda Giopi is an incredible comic, and oh my gosh, I was just belly laughing, and that's really the vibe of our set, and I hope like it can be felt sort of through the film. And it's been a while since we filmed, and yet Laura and Danielle and Steph are so supportive of the entire cast. We grew so close in such a short amount of time, and I think that's a testament to not only what we put into the film, but what the social ones gave us back.
It seems to me it's a very, very much like a Second City performance. It's almost improv in the way that it seems. It's very natural, very real, and yet very, very funny.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the key in filmmaking, We're not in a theater full of 50 people or more. You know, we're right there in your face, in your homes. And I think that's a medium to consider. And especially in my take on the character, it really made me investigate who this person is. beyond the crazy, beyond what she says, beyond the sort of ridiculousness. Who is she, and who would she actually be in this world, and what are the kinds of things that she would say? And really, for my character, you know, she goes through this incredible internal struggle. And I find that when there's things happening on the inside, I lean in. And then when funny things happen, the payoff is, you know, double.
It seems to me like whenever I talk with actors who do a lot of this type of work, the more weird the role, the more you seek the truth in that role.
Of course, like real people make incredibly strange choices in their life. They behave strangely, but everyone is so curious, you know, why? You know, 16, you know, million people tuned into the Tiger King, but it's why? Who are these people behind this strange behavior? There's mystery, there's intrigue, there's, you know, love affairs, there's this, there's that. So when you receive a script or a character with such insane, amazing, hyperbolic language and, you know, extraneous language, you then have to ask, well, why? What happened? Where did they learn this from? How'd they get this way? And if you can sort of crack that nut, as I say, you really find something delicious. And I think that's when the magic really happens, because, you know, what if in that moment Laura really encouraged improv? Well, I can't improv as Nicole while I'm playing this, you know, character. It has to be sort of in line with who you see, which some of that made it into the film. And it's really exciting because you should hopefully not be able to tell, you know, the difference between the two.
In our last few moments that we have together, and thank you again for this lovely time, I do want to talk a little bit about Batwoman, because that's such a wonderful role, you know, to be in. And even though, you know, things are changing with the show, your character is pretty much a rock in that show, isn't she?
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I definitely give that to Caroline Dreves and the rest of the writers' room for giving me such a delicious, delectable character of Mary Hamilton. I'm really, really excited to get back to season 2. And I've just really enjoyed her character arc, a lot of her humanity, so much of her comedy, and her heart. She, you know, as Caroline says, is sort of the heartbeat of this show, and that is a huge honor, a lot of pressure, but definitely something I've quite enjoyed. So
Nicole, thank you so much for this slice of your time. And the second season of Batwoman is coming. Whoever takes in the new role is going to be great, and you guys are already a family on that show, so it'll just be, you know, probably business as usual. But I enjoy your character, and I really enjoy talking to you, and I hope we do it again soon.
Yeah, I hope so too, Tony. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Oh, thanks, Tony.